I did it. I got the MacBook Air. I'm pretty psyched. I haven't opened it yet. I thought you might want to be here for it. So here it is. Looks like a sandwich. We're just gonna open it. So it's M1 MacBook Air. It's the first time I've ever had a MacBook Air. I've kind of always wanted one. Do I have audio right now? Yeah, it looks like it. Cool. Let's open it up and see. Wow, so nice. Like wafer thin. Alright. Pretty. What? I'm just kidding, they always do that. You know, there's one thing that I gotta say about Apple's, it's like their unboxing experience is just always really nice. So this is a thing, the M1 MacBook Air. I guess we're gonna like set it up and I'll do some comments about it as I go. Oh, gotta say this is quite heavy when you're holding it up like this. I really admire the sick gains of Peter McKinnon and all the other vloggers out there.
OS contains a built-in screen reader called VoiceOver. If you know how to use VoiceOver, press Command F5 now to turn it on and set up your Mac. If you would like to learn how to use VoiceOver to set up your Mac, press the Escape key.
I mean, that's kind of nice. Because I didn't read it for a little bit of time, it assumed that I might need some assistance reading. So there's like a screen reader thing that it prompted me to do. I don't need accessibility options, I'm all sweet. So, one thing I gotta say, I went to the Apple store today, and yeah, it's COVID times, but I was a little bit disappointed with what I wanted to do was just add an SD card reader to my order, because I realized that the SD card reader that I have is a lightning cable one, and I was like, I really could use a USB-C one because this new computer's going to have USB-C. So I thought, that's fine, I'll just add it when I get there. When I got there, they brought out my order, it was all fine, everything was great, but then I said, oh, I just want to add a SD card reader, is that possible? And they said, yeah, cool, wait here and we'll get somebody to help you. But then I stood there for like 25 minutes and like nobody came to help me, but they were like helping all these other people, and I mentioned it to somebody else and they said, yeah, they know about you, so somebody will come talk to you in a minute. And then, you know, like I just waited and they spent like 10 minutes explaining to this old lady why they couldn't help her turn on like, or they couldn't show her how to turn on like a mobile hotspot on a brand new iPad. And then I'm like, it would take like literally 1 minute for me to tell you what I want and to just take my money. Like, why can you spend 10 minutes telling her that you can't help her set up a hotspot, but you can't spend 1 minute just like taking my money for an overpriced dongle? Like, it's so shitted me off, so I just left. I've just spent the last couple of hours, you can tell probably that the time of day behind me has changed a bit, and I wanted to just talk about where I got to with this laptop. So I just I installed all my things that I typically use, so that's things from the App Store like Final Cut, Unity, Writer, Chrome, all the stuff I like. I guess it took me about 2 hours, I guess, an hour and a half, and here we are. The thing that impressed me is when I opened this, I took note, I was at 77% battery. How much battery do you think I have left? On a normal PC, you'd kind of reasonably expect like 20 or 30% to get chewed down by this. For me, you can see right here, hopefully you can see right here, 69%. That's good. That's really good. That's 8% battery to install all the stuff I would use. And, you know, installing stuff, that's a lot of reading, writing, a lot of downloading. It's you know, it's only 2 hours, but I'm pretty impressed with that performance. Just like battery wise, out of the box, I think that's pretty good. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that this would be able to do like upwards of 15 hours as they advertise, if you were only doing like light browsing or word processing or video watching or whatever. So that's like super cool. I'll give you more of my opinions on this as I continue to use it throughout the day, I guess. My plan right now is just to take this thing, play around with it for a bit, and then I'll give you a review and my opinions on it. And I guess my opinions of where it fits in like the ecosystem and stuff. I wanted to show you just what's in the box. So obviously you get packaging stuff, amazing, truly amazing, very generous. You get this is all your instructions. Understandably, like I can see why that little old lady wanted some help getting the hotspot set up on her phone. We got a cable, actually looks nice and long, so you can plug in for whenever you're doing your thing. And you get this is your MacBook Charger. It looks like, just gotta rip that off it. It looks like a 30-watt USB-C power adapter. I wonder how compatible this is with the one that goes with my Mac Pro 16-inch. I wonder if you can use a 60-inch Mac Pro charger on a MacBook Air, or if that's bad for it. If anyone knows, maybe leave me a comment, because don't feel like Googling right now. Alright, cool. Hopefully we ruined the movie magic. Today I wanted to talk about this thing, which I picked up, and whether you should get one. This is the iPad Air M1 edition. I got the one with 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage. Why? Because I think that is the nicest compromise for somebody who does productivity things on their computers. Now, is this going to be better than my MacBook Pro? Well, according to the benchmarks, maybe. You can watch benchmark videos anywhere, so I'm not going to go do a bunch of benchmarks, but what I will tell you is the performance of this thing is, you know, everything that you have been told. It's excellent. For reference, here's my 15-inch MacBook Pro. It's pretty thin. It was, you know, very good for its time. There's a Harry Potter sticker I got from the actual Harry Potter store in London. That was pretty cool. Remember when we could travel? I liked it. This is the MacBook Air. 13 inches. It's a lot smaller and it's a lot thinner. Here is the 12.9 inch, I guess these must be about the same size, iPad Pro. Yeah. So you can see that these things are actually pretty comparable in width, thickness. This thing is pretty much the size of an iPad Pro, which is pretty good. But it has all the advantages that are the disadvantages of an iPad Pro. And up until recently, or in the last few years when I could travel, this was just impractical. It's big, it's heavy. This is just notably half its weight or less. And it's fast. It's great for productivity, but can I justify it when I'm traveling? Not really. Up until this year, I also couldn't justify the MacBook Air. Why? Because for me, the compromise in performance is just not worth it. Like, you would have to, I mean, really, it's a glorified web browser at best. I shouldn't wave this around. It's going to make it so hard to cut this together with me waving these computers around all the time. Anyway, 15-inch MacBook. I love it. It's been my go-to machine for development for just, the last, I guess this is a late 2012 or a late, I can even look, so I don't know why I'm going to guess. Let's find out. Late 2013 model. So I've had this for about the better part of 7 years, I guess. And it's great, right? Like, it isn't that heavy. It's quite slim. Fits in really any bag's pocket that has a 15-inch, computer pocket. Sometimes, I guess I'm comparing this to PCs, because sometimes PCs are a little bit too thick or a little bit inconvenient to put in a similar sized laptop sleeve. But, this has been great. I got it 7 years ago with the graphics card, and it's been my everyday work machine ever since. It was good for me while I was contracting. It's still good for me. I still do development on it. I still will do development on it. But why did I change my mind to get an Air now, today? Up until now, the MacBook Air seemed too much like a compromise. That's why I never got one. Basically, it wasn't really much more useful than just a web browser. I can already do that on my phone, so why else would I need a bigger web browser? Or watching shows. So ultimately, it became really just a practicality case that I swapped completely away from this, and I got the iPad Pro. Now this is I think maybe like the 2nd gen iPad Pro, and it's the large one, and I loved it. I traveled with it. It's got a really big screen, big enough that when it displays a keyboard, it feels pretty much like a normal keyboard if you can get used to touching on a screen. And it's good, but the compromise is that it is just a tablet, so it hasn't been able to run the applications that your normal MacBook would run. That's where this thing comes in. Now, the old MacBook Airs, they were okay, but they also couldn't really run the applications that I wanted to run. I'd want to run Unity, I'd want to run Final Cut Pro, I'd want to run really just productivity apps, sometimes some games as well even. And the old MacBook Airs, they just weren't that good. But they were always, priced pretty expensively, and they just wouldn't run all the things that you need to run. However, these ones, now they do. All their hardware is being integrated. It's all faster. It blows even the previous gen MacBook Pros out of the water, and it's frankly not even that expensive. Like, for what it does, it's an excellent machine. Now, if you've never owned a MacBook Air before, I actually think this might be the time that you should enter this market. Why did I get it? Well, because I have never had, for me this fits into a niche of like the coffee shop machine, or the machine that I could really, realistically, practically slip into my bag and not be worried about battery, not be worried about performance, and carry my work, or really any kinds of non-serious work with me. Will I get another MacBook Pro? Yeah, I'll definitely get a MacBook Pro 16-inch, some upgrade, when it seems like a big enough leap from what I have. But right now, this is not a leap from what I have, but it also seems like it's going to perform pretty much identically to what I have, which is great. I would absolutely love to take something this slim, really the size of just a tablet, which I can already justify bringing it with me, but just typically wouldn't have the utilities that I'm looking for. So I wouldn't bring it with me. But now, there's this. And it's beautiful, it's slim. Yeah, this video is going to get edited on here. I might just like update you how it has gone. Editing on this, I was just excited to use it, and I wanted to use it in a productivity way. I'll probably also hack around in Unity, get my project running. So I'm pretty stoked. This is going to go with me to a ton of places that I would just normally not take my MacBook, and it's going to be far more useful to me than the iPad Pro. Who would I recommend to consider these new MacBook Airs? Well, I think that they are at a level right now that they're significantly performant enough, and the price on the low end is so good that I think that this should be a serious consideration for anybody who's looking to get a general use machine. And if you are just looking for something that's a web browser and video machine, you know, like you just send emails, browse the internet, use it pretty casually, and you're not looking for any performance, I think just go bottom of the barrel. You know, either version really, like the 7 GPU one is going to be more than enough for you. The only real consideration is going to be whether you want to spend the extra money to get the extra 256 gigs of storage. You might not need it. If you don't store that much stuff on your computer, then I probably wouldn't worry about it. But if you know that you do take up your storage space pretty often, then maybe you should get it. But really, I don't think these types of small machines should have all of your data on it. You should probably have backups or some sort of cloud service or something like that. But you know, it's up to you, however you do it. Now, for a productivity thing, if you're on a budget, well, I mean, it's not exactly a budget machine, I would say. But I do think that there is a case for having a small, convenient machine like this. And for me, part of why I've always wanted a MacBook Air is just to see how it might fit into my life, to see what I might be able to do when I own a MacBook Air that I wasn't able to do with the MacBook Pros because they're just too big. Where can I take this, especially with all the extended battery life? You know, realistically, this could be a coffee shop machine, or it could be a traveling machine, and you could get all the performance out of it that you would normally get out of your MacBook Pro. So why wouldn't you go for that? That's pretty sweet. If you are a mobile developer, well, I mean, this is very similar to mobile architecture. So the limitation is actually in some ways going to work in your favor, in a sense. It'll force you to write to develop optimally, even though, you know, a little more is required. So that's why I've got the 16 gigs version. That's the same as what's in my MacBook Pro 15-inch that's behind me. And I think this is overall going to be a good machine. So yeah, just wanted to generally throw some comments out there into the ether. I know that maybe it'll help some people. Do I think you should get into it? It's kind of up to you, but if you're looking for a really small, lightweight, super power efficient and powerful machine, I actually think it's an awesome little thing that you should consider getting. And if you're looking at machines to get for your mum or dad, I actually think like the 7 GPU versions that are just 256 gig, they're probably more than enough for a lot of people that don't do much more than just browsing and watching videos and, you know, commenting on Facebook or whatever service you feel like using. Yeah, I would, if they can get used to using a Mac, it's so worth it. And then that's it. And if you're thinking, should you get this instead of a MacBook Pro, for example? Well, if you're looking for a machine and you have a large budget, I would say don't get this, maybe just hold off for a little bit, because whatever comes in the 16-inch variant is going to be pretty badass. But if you have the budget for it and you're looking for something small and portable and really long battery life, then yeah, I would be going for this over really anything else on the market. There's not many times in my life that I've said that Apple is doing it 100% better than the competition, but right now that's just the case. So you know, they make beautiful machines, they're really small, they're really elegant, and they're really good environments for developing on, I would say. So certainly just consider it. If ever you've been curious, there's no better time than this one right now, and I have never said that for the iPad Air in the past. So have a think. I think it's good. Alright, so I just thought I'd give you an update. I'm pretty much at the end of my video editing process. It went really good. I haven't plugged it in since I bought it, and I'm at 16%, which is honestly pretty phenomenal. That's after a couple hours of Final Cut Pro, and I accidentally recorded all my footage in 4K, so that's a good test. I was able to do the whole thing with 4K footage. There was less frames, but nothing. It was very quick anyway, probably quicker than my other computer, and nothing that stressed me out. And the whole time that I was doing it, I was also stabilizing some footage in Catalyst Browse as well, which took a hugely long time. Clearly this is not optimized for this new hardware, but I was able to do that in the background while I was working in Final Cut Pro for probably more than an hour, maybe like nearly 2 hours, and it was fine. It was like a really good experience. Still haven't plugged it in. 16% left. It looks like I won't make it to the end of the render, but as far as things go, like starting from about 80% battery at the start of the experience, I think that's pretty phenomenal, frankly. Like I was thrashing this computer and it survived this long. I'm really, really impressed. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what you could expect out of your battery if you're gonna pick up one of these bad boys. That's it. If you've watched this long, I'm sorry that I wasted so much of your time, but I hope that it was at least helpful for you to choose whether you want one of these things. And you might as well stick around forever, so feel free to subscribe and like me and make comments, especially about that battery thing. But I do know the answer now, and I believe the answer is don't do it if the voltage is too much higher than the voltage on the MacBook Air charger, because it could damage your machine, but nobody's going to really tell you that. But you should still be careful. So, alright, gonna go. See ya.